20 minutes of reading a day paves the way to success. Visit the library together. Let your child choose books that excite them. A world of adventure awaits on every shelf. For more information, read jax.org.
North Florida TPO, proud sponsor of WJCT's First Coast Connect, bringing to the community innovation in transportation planning, commuter services, clean fuels, and intelligent transportation systems. More at northfloridatpo.com.
Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjax.com.
This is WJCT News 89.9. Up next, live headlines from NPR News and the WJCT News team.
Or 549-2937 or emailing firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. You can also reach out on social media. It's all ahead.
NPR News, I'm Corva Coleman. The Justice Department has announced terrorism charges against 6 Hamas leaders, including the architect of the deadly October 7th attack on Israel. NPR's Ryan Lucas reports on the charges unsealed yesterday in federal court in Manhattan.
Among the 6 Hamas leaders charged by criminal complaint is Yahya Sinwar, the group's political chief who is in Gaza. He and the other defendants face 7 charges, including conspiracy to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization and conspiracy to murder U.S. nationals. 3 of the defendants are already dead. The other 3 are unlikely to ever face justice in the U.S. Court papers say Hamas killed at least 43 Americans in the October 7th attack on Israel and took at least 10 Americans hostage. The charges were filed in February, but their announcement comes days after American hostage Hersh Goldberg Poland was killed in Gaza. Attorney General Merrick Garland said the department is investigating his murder and the killings of all Americans. Ryan Lucas, NPR News, Washington.
A federal judge is denying former President Donald Trump's request to move his sentencing in his New York criminal hush money case out of state court. NPR's Giles Snyder has more.
Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chung issued a statement saying Donald Trump and his lawyers will continue fighting to move the hush money case into federal court. For now, though, the ball remains in the trial judge's courtroom, and he's expected to rule soon on Trump's requests to delay the September 8th sentencing and to overturn the verdict.
In May, Trump was convicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records in the case. Meanwhile, Trump is preparing to hold a town hall-style event later today in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He'll be joined by Fox host Sean Hannity. Fox will televise the recorded event later tonight. Fox News is also reporting Trump will travel to New York tomorrow to speak at the Economic Club of New York. Vice President Harris is going to New Hampshire today. She is going to discuss her proposal to offer new businesses $50,000 in tax credits for startup costs. Global stocks plummeted today, a day after Wall Street had its worst day since early August. As NPR's Rebecca Rossman reports, the plunge has triggered concern about when the U.S. Federal Reserve might cut interest rates.
Major indexes across Asia dropped significantly on Wednesday, likely triggered by U.S. stock closures the day before. The S&P 500 index sank by more than 2% on Tuesday. The bulk of the responsibility for the drop comes from the S&P's heaviest weight, chipmaker NVIDIA. Its stock fell by a record 9.5%, erasing roughly $279 billion. Investors are said to be growing more skeptical about companies like NVIDIA, which rely heavily on artificial intelligence. There's also concern about the latest U.S. manufacturing data, which showed only a slight improvement in August following an 8-month low in July. Rebecca Rossman, NPR News.
This is NPR.
It's 4 minutes after 9 o'clock. This is WJCT News 89.9 in Jacksonville. I'm Michelle Coram. The St. Johns County Pier in St. Augustine Beach will be partially closed indefinitely while the county looks over the pillars closest to the ocean. The county says the last 100 feet of the pier will be closed. Early last week, county officials noticed that some of the pillars appeared to show some decay. Typically, those pillars would be underwater, but due to a recent beach renourishment project, the pillars are now exposed. St. Augustine Beach Mayor Dylan Rumrell tells our news partner, News4Jax, the exposed pillars made the problems easier to spot.
Before, you'd have to send dive teams in, you'd have to put people in there to look, but now you're able to, get a bird's eye view without getting wet.
The county says it made the decision to partially close the pier after receiving advice from an engineering firm. Mocha Jacksonville has launched Jack's Contemporary. That's a juried art exhibition that showcases artists in the Northeast Florida area. So the Downtown Museum is looking for submissions from artists in Flagler, Putnam, Baker, Clay, St. Johns, Duuval, and Nassau counties. Artwork can be submitted starting next Monday, September 9th. It's open to all non-student working professional artists 18 and older. You can go to mochajacksonville.unf.edu. Thunder and lightning right now in downtown Jacksonville. Lots of rain, and it's 78 degrees.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include C3 AI. C3 Generative AI works to enable rapid access to traceable, hallucination-free insights from enterprises using any LLM, helping turn the invisible into the obvious. This is Enterprise AI.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Good morning. I'm Ann Schindler, and this is First Coast Connect. Today, exploring the region's identity while wrestling with its past. We talked to members of 9/0 Forward about progress towards racial equity and pitfalls along the way. Later in the program, 904 Day is a reason to celebrate, donate, and participate. But first, we want to take a quick look at weather, which has been a little dicey this morning. We're joined by First Coast News meteorologist and Good Morning Jacksonville anchor Lewis Turner. Good morning, Lewis. Have I got you, Lewis?
First, Duuuval.
Hey, I missed
Can
what
you
you
hear me,
said.
Ann?
I
Hey.
did. I missed your intro there. What'd you say, my friend?
I was just saying, it's good to see it. Talk to you. It's kind of a reverse Duuuval. We're used to these thunderstorms in the afternoon, and we get them in the morning, and it's a little unsettling, especially during this commute. So it's been wild. We're getting pounded downtown right now.
Yeah, and it was a little crazy driving in. I've got a few guests that have been expressing some dismay about the canoe that they need to get across the parking lot.
And it's good timing to talk to folks too. We're getting in their cars right now, if you can. We've just got this. What it's called is training. When these showers sort of back build on themselves and they don't fizzle out, they just keep building within Duuuval. So we've had 4 inches of rain already this morning fall in Bay Meadows, and there's probably 2 or 3 more inches coming in Bay Meadows Road area. So there's some flood issues that could happen. But if you're coming up 95 right now inside the Beltway, so from 295 to get downtown just on 95 northbound, it's going to take you 50 minutes. I mean, that's the backups we're getting right now. So I just, if you can, chill, hang out with us here on First Coast Connect and see. But I know we got an afternoon to get through as well. And if you wanted a forecast, I'd be happy to do it for you.
Yeah, because it sounds like this whole week is going to be a little hairy. Is that right?
It is, yeah. Today's kind of a classic example of it's just hitting downtown. But, tomorrow it very likely could be Fernandina, and then the day after could be St. Augustine. So it's kind of these waves of rain, and we have an area of low pressure just offshore. It's not a tropical system, but we have tropical moisture kind of sucked in with this thing. So it's going to bring us continued rainfall. We'll get breaks. So folks might get to work and see blue sky out their office window at points this afternoon and wonder what the heck we're talking about. But so these won't be all day showers, but just kind of coming in waves. So be prepared. And when you get under it, I mean, certainly flooding is a possibility, especially in those areas that we know are likely to flood.
So, Lou, it is 904 Day, as you well know, and this may put a little damper on the mood for some people. How are you celebrating 904 Day? You're a dug-in local at this point.
Well, that's absolutely true. I'm going to get at least 2 or 3 tattoos today. You got to get, of course, the area code itself, but maybe a full-blown alligator wrestling a jaguar. There will be celebrations had. Believe you me, and the rain is not going to slow it down.
I really look forward to the blow-by-blow on social of your tattoos today, Lou. We're always a close follow.
Believe it or not, yeah, they'll be covered by suits. Of course, I wear a suit at work, but so you'll never know. But you got to celebrate accordingly. Something permanent.
Yeah, but not for the children.
No,
Draw the line.
Not for the children. Nothing on a permanent record. You don't want that. Just some good memories.
All right. Well, Lou Turner, it's great talking to you this morning. Thank you so much for giving us a little weather update, and have a great 904.
Sure. Be safe out there and have a fantastic 904 day. Thank you for having me in. Have a great day.
Thanks, Lewis Turner. All right. Well, I want to turn now to the original 904ers, representatives of 90 Forward, which is a nonprofit working for racial equity. They're also architects of some of the First Coast's most difficult and necessary conversations. We're joined now by Jerail Fennell. I don't know why I'm stumbling on that. Jerail Fennell, the group's director of communications. And in just a minute, we're going to be joined by Dr. Kimberly Allen. Yes. She is the CEO of 90 Forward. But let's start. I mean, it's a day of celebration, but 90 Forward has a very serious mission, Jerail.
Absolutely. Yeah, our mission and the work that we do it's tough. It's hard to face sometimes if you're coming into it and you having those tough conversations, but it's necessary. So it's a tough mission, it's tough work, but it's necessary work.
And what is the unique challenge of that work in Jacksonville? I mean, how does the city's history and its place in history impact the work that you do and those difficult conversations?
Absolutely. I tell folks all the time, Jacksonville is a city of 7 bridges, and the city is separated by those bridges, and we're working to bring everyone together. And you can kind of feel that in the city sometimes. If you live on the north side, you eat, play, and live on the north side and don't necessarily go to the south side, and the same vice versa. So we're looking to bring everybody together and face what Jacksonville has been dealing with for many years, from X Handle Saturday and beyond, to have conversations with folks, to let folks know that we have more in common than we do that separates us. And it's okay to have that tough conversation and leave feeling like I've learned something about someone else and I can apply that moving forward.
So these tough conversations, they're structured very often. When 904 is handling them, they're bringing in people and they're creating an environment that allows for those conversations to happen in a constructive way. So what is the design of those? How do you make those happen? And I ask that knowing that a lot of conversations happen that aren't real constructive.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a great group of volunteers. Some of them are facilitators, and they get trained all the way up to a level 4 facilitator. And they lead those conversations. So we do it with an open mind. We create a safe space, and we let folks know, like, hey, you may not leave here today within this hour conversation with a different opinion, but as long as you come with an open heart and open ears and be receptive to learning, it may apply to you five days from now, 10 days from now, a year from now. Something that you had at this table, it would apply to your life. So just have an open heart, open ears, and let the conversation guide you.
How did you come to this work yourself?
For sure. So about 2 years ago, I saw an opening, and quite honestly, I saw 904, and I thought, 904 happy hours, having tough conversations. What's going on here? So what is this? What's going on? So when I did my research about the organization and saw what the organization was doing and who they were, I said, there's no way that this is really happening in our city. Like, this has to be a catfish job. So I applied just to see. And I met our CEO, Dr. Allen, and she told us about the work that we were doing, that they were doing at that time for 8 years. And I said, this is something that I have to be a part of, because this isn't work for me. I wake up every day and my purpose is to make a difference. And I do that through communication and marketing, but I can see those light bulbs going off in folks' brains sometimes as we're having conversations. And that's the moment for me where this isn't work. This is everyday life, but now I get to do it in a constructive way and get paid a little bit for it. So.
You were born and raised in Jacksonville?
I was not born and raised in Jacksonville. So I'm originally from Palm Coast, Florida.
Okay.
I came to Jacksonville for college. I went to JU, met my wife. She's born and raised in Jacksonville. And she said, if you want to be with me, we're going to stay right here in Jacksonville. So I've been here for 10 years.
I guess I'm trying to understand, when you talk about this has got to be a catfishing job, like, where does that skepticism come from? You wouldn't be alone in feeling it.
Yeah, for sure. At that time, the conversations were happening around George Floyd and a lot of things taking place in the world, but there weren't a lot of people having that conversation publicly and out loud, and let's just do it together in this space. So I said, this is not real. This is not happening. And then I met Dr. Allen on the interview, and I said, oh, she is serious about this work. This team is serious about this work. I want to be a part of this.
Yeah, and Dr. Allen joins us now because it has been a hairy morning out there, my friend.
Oh, wow, the traffic.
Yeah, I know. And I know you even left early to get here, so thanks for making the journey. We're talking about the work of 90 Forward. Has the work of having these conversations around race, around, improving that dialogue, gotten any easier in the time that you've been doing it?
I don't know if easier is the word I would use. I think I would say they have become more popular. Because I think that there are a number of people who recognize the power of getting to know their neighbor And so they are willing to at least embark on the journey of what is difficult in order to accomplish something that is um, ultimately it's challenging, but it's so powerful when you get to the other side of it.
Is there a particular moment or a particular event that you had where you really felt like some magic was happening, or you saw somebody just really transformed or transcending kind of their belief systems?
Oh my gosh, yes. I have a lot of those stories, but the one that I use most often, and it comes up quite a bit, there was a woman who shared with us that, in her household, she'd grown up in a household where, racial slurs were used to describe people, and she, internalized that that was not good, and so she said, I was very conscious growing up not to, to make sure I'm not using that kind of language to describe other people and really just see people for who they are. And so one of the other participants said to her, she's like, I think that's fantastic. And how much of that have you internalized in the back of your mind that actually comes out in how you interact with people from that background? So you might not say the words, but do you cross the street when you see someone from that background? Because somewhere in the back of your mind, whatever was said around using those terms might have manifested, and they might sit there even despite our best intentions and our best efforts. They manifest because we haven't necessarily called it out. And so she sat there in that moment and she got teary-eyed and she was like, you're right. I hadn't thought about it that way. And so it's more than not saying certain words, or it's more than just saying I see people or I don't see color. It is the behavioral manifestations of truly recognizing people in their individuality and their humanity.
Are there strategies that you offer people who are battling with those internalized prejudices or beliefs? We're a tribal people. Very often we tend to reflect the communities that we grow up in. And it's hard for people to unlearn things. So what kind of tools do you offer people?
So we have an intro to racial discussions course where we try to provide language. So here are some words to help you engage in a healthy dialogue about race. And then we offer practice. So we help you to flex that muscle and how to engage. It helps you to learn how to de-escalate. Let's not throw the turkey at the Thanksgiving table, right? Let's not flip over the water cooler at work while we're engaging in these conversations. There is a way to have them that is going to be most productive, and we want to try to help you do that. The other thing that we tell folks, and this is something everybody can do, and it's build relationships with whoever you see as other. And relationship means let me take you to dinner. Let's go have coffee. It's literally just the basic 101 things that we do with our normal friend group, but it's someone that you probably wouldn't ordinarily invite in, or you might not ordinarily approach. And so how do you start to build relationship, and not in an extractive or an exploitive way, but genuinely to understand I am on a learning journey, and no, it's not your job to teach me, but I do want to have other examples in my brain that help me not to rely on stereotypes when I see someone or come encounter with someone who might be similar to you.
And Jerail, some of the work of 904 is, providing these skills to people, but also empowering them to go back to the communities that they have grown up in or always inhabited, and try to bring some of those conversations, or at least that same awareness, to that group.
Absolutely.
And those are a different set of strategies than just having those initial conversations in a controlled environment.
Right. I would say those conversations may be even tougher because you're with your family, your friends, and you speak a different language. You have a different dialect around those folks, and they will challenge you more. They'll push you more. It's a tough season right now for us in the country. We know that it's election year, and we know that some things are going to happen, and chips are going to fall. And even just having conversations with folks to say, hey, register to vote, which is something that 904 is pushing advocacy. that conversation gets a lot of pushback. So those conversations are typically harder to have. So you have to know your personnel. You have to know who you're dealing with and know when to say, okay, I'm done with this conversation for now. I'm going to go grab me a plate and watch the game. So-
We've got a call from Chris in Northwest Jacksonville. Good morning, Chris. Go ahead.
Hi, I really love the conversation we're having. I just wanted to say that I'm a perfect example of what we're talking about. I grew up in the rural Big Bend area and exposed to racism, exposed to prejudice, and I just want to say it wasn't an easy task to rid myself of that kind of hatred. I actually had to work. I had to put in the legwork, and I had to ask the questions. And now I find myself having to, correct my loved ones who saw me before I enlightened myself and now. And so I'm having to politely say, you can't really do that. That's not the way things roll. So it takes a lot of back and forth and real effort to change a view, but it is possible.
And Chris, what inspired you to undertake that effort on your own?
Just getting away from that. I joined the military, and so just getting away, getting out of that, and seeing how big the world is, and at the same time how small it is, how together we all have to be in order for this thing to succeed. We can't just shut our eyes to one half of the population and say, well, they don't matter because they're less. We got to concentrate here. That's eye for an eye leads to blind people.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I mean, Kimberly Allen, we hear that story very often with, even previous generations engaged in battle, that the military has been a unifying factor in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. It is the place where you are, one of the places where you are forced to bond with people. You have to trust who is the person to the left and right of you. It doesn't matter who they are. So that's going to challenge what you thought you knew about folks. And again, I mean, he said it best. Your eyes are opened in a way when you are sort of out of an environment and forced to rely on those next to you in a different way. It's a beautiful process. It's certainly not easy, but I do stress that it is so worth it.
We have a message from Tiffany on Facebook. She says, grateful to Dr. Kimberly Allen and 90 Forward for doing what's needed and necessary to open both our hearts and minds intentional. Jerail, have you found that these messages that 904 brings to the community have been more resonant since we had, this major racial reckoning, I think, in 2020, and a number of, incidents that have raised the profile of how communities of color are historically have been treated and continue to be?
Absolutely, for sure. I say all we are is a sum total of our life's experiences. And if we don't get out and sample life or experience these things, we'll be stuck in what we know. And I'm so grateful for social media, for the outlets that we have, the self-reporters who can pull a cell phone out and capture moments as they're happening. Because sometimes folks have to see it to believe it. It's one thing to hear it. It's one thing to actually see it. And with that happening, folks' experiences change, because where it's like, hey, that could never happen, or I don't believe it happened like that. No, now you can see it. And now you can feel for that person who is being harmed or who is being disrespected. No matter who they are, you should empathize with that. So it has opened a lot of eyes these past couple of years.
Are there any projects, Kimberly, that you want to take on, but you feel like the city just isn't ready to handle yet?
I feel like I have been pretty fortunate in that I have a board and a team who have really encouraged me to go after the difficult things. And right now, our biggest task, and I don't feel like it's one that we can't do, but our biggest task is really focusing on why we should be voting right now. Because it's one thing for us to do the hard work of getting folks to engage with others on an interpersonal level. It's a next step to get folks to say, now let's make sure you are prioritizing your best interests. If these are values you care about, then these things are on the ballot. And so that work is not it's not easy work, and certainly in this climate, and we are in Florida. And so it really is trying to encourage people to really exercise that right and that power that they have.
How do you avoid feeling like you're preaching to the choir, that you're talking to a group of people that are receptive naturally to these conversations, or to nonprofits, out there in the community that are looking for ways to participate and partner. How do you, ensure, Jerail, that you're connecting with people that really need to hear the message?
My experience may be different than Dr. Allen's. For me, they don't come to my church. They don't subscribe to what we're hosting or having, and we don't see those folks as much as we will want to. And where we offer the olive branch for you to attend, and we may go out to seek it. Some folks, I understand, just aren't ready for that conversation. So we're trying to find different ways of entry to get folks in. But right now, it's, we have a big pop-up banner, and it talks about what 904 does, and I'll be out doing some street marketing, and someone says, ending racism. What? Racism doesn't exist. That's made up. And it's like, okay, well, we could have a conversation if you would like, but I will let you also walk away with your opinion. And hopefully the next time you see one of our volunteers in an orange shirt, who may not look like me, who may be a white woman that looks like you, maybe that's a way for you to have that conversation, that start conversation. So I understand that folks have to be comfortable to become uncomfortable.
And they have to be willing to be approached with that information.
Absolutely.
But they also, I guess, have to have some fundamental belief that there is a problem.
Absolutely. That's one of the first steps. You have to understand that, hey, it may not be affecting me, but something is happening. And I may not be able to be the pivotal change, but I can take part in it.
What do you say about that, Kimberly?
So, and Jerail has heard me say this quite a bit. I had an incredible mentor in Mr. Bryant Rollins, who passed away about 2 years ago. And he said to me when I had this conversation with him about preaching to the choir, he said, well, the choir needs rehearsal too. and that has stuck with me because for all of the efforts that we have right now, that we are all sort of marching around this beat of trying to create equity in our community, we can be a little bit all over our sheet music too. And so what does it look like for us to start to harmonize together and play in sync? And then at the same time, it takes folks like your first caller to go out and spread the good news, because to Jerail's point, there are folks who are going to see me and they're never going to hear this message come from me. But it's going to take folks like him who says, hey, I was once where you are, and now I'm on the other side of that. Come with me. Here's a journey. Here's a path forward. You can see it on the other side. And it's working with folks like him who see the benefit and the value and are willing to also help lead others.
So 904 Day, it's in your name, 904, but it's also a fundraising opportunity for the organization. And so I know that nonprofits, including 904 and WJCT, are encouraging people to support their local nonprofits, certainly their local businesses, but you're making a specific plea for a donation of 904, is that right?
That's right. At least $9.04 on 904 Day. Our goal is to get at least 94 donors, which I think we have crushed. So keep it coming to support this work. If you have any desire, any inkling, any just strong urge to see change in our community and continue to be a part of that change, at least $9.04. And then come on over and volunteer with us too. We got plenty of ways to plug you in.
How can people do that?
Visit 904ward.org /volunteers, and they will see all of our opportunities, our upcoming volunteer orientation where you can be trained so that you can get exposed to the opportunities we have.
Well, Dr. Kimberly Allen, Jerail Fennell, welcome, or thank you so much, I should say, for being here. Appreciate it. It was a nice conversation. 4 Day was originally inspired by similar events in Miami and Orlando with the goal of encouraging locals to celebrate locally. And this year's theme encourages residents to explore unfamiliar parts of the 904. Joining us on the line to tell us about it is Stephanie Garfunkel with the Community Foundation of Northeast Florida. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning, Ann. Thanks for having me.
I'm very glad to have you, Stephanie. Also here in the studio with me, Mike Ammirata with the Jacksonville Chamber. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Nice to meet you both.
So, Mike, 904 is no longer the only area code for this reason. The Public Service Commission began rolling out the 324 earlier this year. In some ways, it almost reinforces the 904 as an identity because now you have to actually dial it.
Yes, and they've changed a little bit of it, but as a quick correction, my company, I'm a chamber trustee, but my company is Resource Solutions Plus, so I don't work for the chamber, but I'm an active member of the chamber. And because of their actions that they do every day, I got very involved in 904, and today, and I'm excited about what you guys are doing for the community.
And you are a relatively recent transplant to the 904, but you've become a pretty big booster of the area. Why is that?
It's easy. It's infectious. There are so many positive things happening that I feel I came here to retire, and that just didn't happen. I read a few people, Troy McNair, Michael Brown of the Think Bold initiative, and that gave me a lead into the chamber and becoming a trustee. With Daniel Davis, what he's been doing has been outstanding to try and grow this city.
The chamber president.
Yeah, the chamber president, and of course with Donna Deegan, mayor, accepting and supporting the Jaguars and development there, it just gave more energy to the city, and that's been driving me every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephanie, the enormous footprint of the 904 is sometimes a little bit amorphous. How do you, and I think it's telling that you have to almost have an area code to define it. How do you define the 904 in this region when you're talking about it to other people?
That's a great question, Anne. I think that the Community Foundation is really a network of donors who care about giving back in the local community, and we actually represent the 6-county region that includes Duuuval, but also the surrounding counties. But what we really love about 904 Day and the identity that the 904 gives us is really just an opportunity to focus on the local. There's so much conversation about the national and international level. I think that 904 Day is really special because it gives us an opportunity to talk about local, whatever that means to you. You know, we know that we're a city of neighborhoods, and so for some folks that means the beach, and for some folks that means the North Side, and for some people that's Putnam County. But what we do is we help donors connect to nonprofits in the areas that matter to them.
And so this 904 Days celebration started in 2021. This theme this year is encouraging residents to explore a part of the city that they might be unfamiliar with. Stephanie, do you have a strategy that you would suggest for people to embark on this discovery? Should they pick a location, just start driving or riding their bike or hop on the bus?
I love that theme and that encouragement because I do think that what's special about philanthropy is that it helps us connect with people and places that we might not otherwise know. And the other spin that I might put on it is to think about what the issues are that matter to you as an individual and find out who's working on that issue locally. You know, we represent a network of donors, more than 700 funds. We manage more than $650 million of charitable assets, which is thanks to our donors, led by our president, Isaiah Oliver, and our trustees. And what we really help folks do is to say, you know, if I care about early childhood education, or I care about the environment, or I care about K-12 education or the arts, there is probably a local nonprofit that's doing amazing work in that space that through philanthropy, we have an opportunity to support. So that's what I would suggest. I love the encouragement to get out and explore a new region, a new area, a place that you haven't been before. And I think that 904 Day creates a great opportunity for that because people are sharing out on social media the things that they love most. And so you may just be able to tune into social media and find a place or a business or a local nonprofit that you weren't aware of before. And I think that's a great place to start.
Do you have a favorite best kept secret?
Well, gosh, I live in Murray Hill, and so I'm all about the Murray Hill businesses. Chancho King, Community Loaves are some of my favorites. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to our donors, we work with a lot of donors, many of whom have started their own businesses here, and that's why they care about giving back locally. And so it's hard to call out anyone because we have more than 700 funds with different donors that are giving back to the community. I would also say that the Nonprofit Center of Northeast Florida is a great place to start if you're interested in giving back your time, talent, or treasure, because they manage a board directory and they're a great connection point for the more than 1,000 local nonprofits that we have in this region.
So, Mike, how about you since arriving here? Do you find an opportunity to do that kind of exploration yourself? And what are some of the hidden gems that you've discovered?
I think one hidden gem is you can't have philanthropy without having an income. And these companies grow by growing their business. Part of 904 Day has to be about the corporate growth and sales and business. That's what's going to create more philanthropy by people actually making money. Like my company, promotional products, branding, getting out the message, growing the companies that we work with here locally. And I think that it's great to have nonprofits, and with Think Bold we are, with Wealth Watchers we are. But the idea for today, I hope, is that we're going to bring people downtown to see the companies that are in the city of Jacksonville that are the small stores, the small vendors, the tattoo artists, the music venues. All these things are here today to help businesses grow. And once they can grow, they can look to give back. We do, but that's a natural part, hopefully, for most people in business. But growing the company is part of what I believe we should be trying to do. And
Yeah.
that's my focus today.
Well, Stephanie Garfunkel and Mike Ammirata, thank you both so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks. This was fun.
Appreciating the natural environment is difficult if you're not exposed to it, and one local group is dedicated to what it calls environmental literacy when it comes to our local waterways. To tell us about it, I'm joined now by Kristie Corrigan. She's the educational director with Florida Water Warriors. Hey, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Kristie, you had to brave some serious waterways just to get here today. I
Yes,
understand.
we had pretty bad weather.
Environmental literacy. Explain to us what that is.
So environmental literacy really includes it's pretty much an umbrella of education for the science world. So we provide field trips to bring students and adults out onto the local waterways in St. Augustine, and we teach them all about marine science. So the literacy includes not only observation in the field with dolphins and our local wildlife, beautiful birds, the roseate spoonbill, and we also work with science experiments. So that includes literacy through experimentation. So we work with water quality, and we actually, all the data that we collect with the students, we provide to the National Oceanic Atmosphere Association. So we have 4 years of data on our local waterway in St. Augustine. So the students and the adults will help us collect the water sample right onto the boat, and we'll check the temperature, the air temperature, the pH. We'll look at the salinity level, make sure that everything is great, for our environment. We've had 4 years of healthy water data with the Guanatolamato-Matanzas River system. And then we also drag a plankton net alongside the boat, and we collect samples of plankton. And the students will help us identify the plankton under microscopes.
So appreciating the natural area, particularly on the First Coast, requires exposure to waterways because they are, for a lot of people, really off limits. If you don't have a boat, if you don't have a riverfront property, you may not ever get out on the river or on the intercoastal. So how do you provide a conduit for young people to access that waterways, especially if they're, don't have those privileges naturally?
And that is what is so wonderful about Florida Water Warriors. We do fundraising throughout the year, and there is a for-profit company, Florida Water Tours, that provides public dolphin cruises and sunset cruises. They're a lot of fun, and they will donate part of their ticket proceeds into the Florida Water Warriors to continue that educational outreach. So not only will we have groups join us on the vessel, they might, we might provide financial aid for their busing, or it's low cost tickets or for free, just depends on the financial background of the group. And 100% of any tickets that are purchased goes right into the nonprofit to help out other groups that might not be able to afford it. We also provide outreach programs too, where we'll go into the schools. Maybe they're not able to join us out on the vessel. This past year, we went into the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, and we provided hands-on experience for the blind library. And we worked with the sounds of the animals, and we had all of our touch center where they were able to really experience what those animals would feel like.
And so who comes to, these experiences? What kind of outreach do you do? Who are the groups of students that you're connecting with?
So we've had a lot of interest the past 4 years, and our followers have really grown and grown. We work with a lot of homeschool groups throughout Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra, Palm Coast. And we also work with the private and public schools, St. Johns County, Duuuval. We have a lot of charter schools that will join us as well. And one of my faves is the Girl Scout and Boy Scouts of America. They join us too.
We have a question from Judy on email. She says, is there a chapter or allied organization in Duval County?
This is the only one as of now. It's just Florida Water Warriors is pretty new as a startup, but as we grow bigger and bigger, the more that we have sponsors and donors and people that are interested in supporting us, the more that we can grow. we have one vessel that we take out onto the waterway. It's a 35-foot pontoon vessel, and it becomes a floating classroom. So we can hold up to 22 passengers.
Oh, okay. Seems like there's a lot of new and young and energetic environmental groups, particularly in the, St. Augustine area. Whether it's the folks that are picking up litter, or doing regular water testing and trying to seed the water with new oysters, to grow. Is there any coordination between those groups, or are they mostly in their own silos?
We all coordinate together. So what's really awesome about St. Augustine, we have a lot of local events where we'll all come together and we'll have vendor booths set up and we'll communicate with one another. We get to know each other. There's many nonprofits that work together and collaborate to put on different events, or we'll help each other out when, let's say, I have an outreach that I'm doing and I'll ask another nonprofit to collaborate and come out with us. We've worked with Fish Island. We've worked with the GTM, Matanzas River Keeper. So there's many of us throughout the St. Augustine area and even into Jacksonville that will collaborate and communicate.
And the Whitney Lab is right there as well.
Yes, and the Sea Turtle Whitney Lab. Yes, we've communicated and worked with them as well.
So what is the biggest barrier, as you see it, to people having environmental literacy or kids growing up with an understanding of the value and the needs of the environment?
So as things become more modern and plastic is really into our entire system and just our way of life as of now, it's harder to break away from those social norms of what's put in place when we just go to the store and they hand us a plastic bag. Just teaching the students and just locals that you can politely refuse plastic, or some people, they might only live 10 miles from the beach, but they don't make it all the way to the water system. Just bringing them out and giving them an outlet to get onto the water and to see these animals in real life and to observe them, and just to spark a passion for ways that we can protect them, even just at home, just using plant-based cleaning supplies or participating in a beach cleanup, picking up in your neighborhood, starting your own little cleanup in your school.
Yeah. And so your last name is Corrigan. There's a lot of Corrigans in this area. You're relatively new to the area yourself. So how did you have a transformational moment that brought you to the work that you do?
So I've been an educator for a while. I have a master's in education and I taught in the classroom. I've taught K through 12. And I worked up in Washington, D.C., and I moved down here and I worked with the St. Johns County Public Schools and I loved it. And then we started this nonprofit and we started to get out onto the water, and I was a part of the curriculum designing team and educating, and I decided to make the transition to be the field trip teacher and to be out with the kids. This past year, I was able to reach 800 students. And this year, currently, our goal is to teach 1,000 students. And as of the end of August, we've already worked with 600 students.
So when you're designing a curriculum like this, what, as an educator, do you know is important ways to, connect with kids or to show them and get them to the point that you want them to be?
Engagement is key. So hooking and engaging the kids right out the gate, and really the dolphins do all the work. So when we get out on the waterway and the wild dolphins come out and they start to see them, if you head to our Facebook and our Instagram, we do many posts, you'll actually hear the kids in some of the videos, their excitement just when those dolphins pop up and they're breathing and they're swimming next to the boat. That's one way to really engage them in right away. Engagement's key, and then also looking at the standards that correlate with Florida standards in science, just for kindergarten through 12th, making sure that we're bringing those standards to the students so when they go back to their classroom, the teachers can continue that education. So we provide resources for them as well.
And you've got an event coming up that's at a really fun fish camp down in St. Augustine, kind of in the Crescent Beach area. So tell us about what that event is. That's a big fundraiser for you?
Yeah, so it's one of our fundraisers for the year. We call it the Oyster Roast, and it's at Janung's Fish Camp. It's down off of 206 in St. Augustine. It's a beautiful location. It's going to be sunset hour, and there'll be roasted oysters, and we'll have a beautiful grazing table with charcuterie, and there'll be an education station for the children, and we'll have live music, and it's just going to be a really great time. There'll be raffle prizes as well. it's pretty great ticket price. It's $45 per person, and kids 12 and under are free, and 100% of the proceeds goes to the nonprofit. That funding allows us to then go into the Title I schools and bring outreach program, bring those students out on the vessel for free, no cost. So our fundraisers are really, really huge. So if you're able to make it, I encourage everybody to come on down and see us.
And Captain Adam Morley is going to be there.
He's going to be
presiding
roasting the oysters, yes.
Yeah. So this is September 14th at Janung's Fish Camp, which, if you've never been, is just a delightful place to be and to hang out for an oyster roast and a campfire.
Great spot. It's absolutely casual. We're going to have the great sunset. It's right there on the Matanzas River. So it'll be from 6 to 8 p.m.
Yeah. And if people want to get more information, that's at floridawaterwarriors.org.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's so nice to meet you in person. Thanks for braving the bad weather, Kristie Corrigan.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope that everybody checks out our website, check out our social media. There's so much to see, and we do a lot. So we're excited to be here and promote our nonprofit.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
In just a minute, the enduring appeal of the fictional
Congaree & Penn, dedicated to agriculture and culinary endeavors, offering field-to-fork dining and outdoor experiences on over 300 acres. Sip, dine, explore. Information at congareeandpenn.com.
20 minutes of reading a day paves the way to success. Use technology to your advantage. Educational apps and audiobooks can make reading more interactive and accessible. For more information, readjax.org.
Some colleges receive tens of thousands of applications every year, so they're looking for a faster way to process them. That's why some admissions offices are now using AI.
For instance, summarizing students' essays and recommendation letters, using AI to either highlight or call out specific points.
AI and college admissions, that's on the next On Point.
Today at 11, here on WJCT News 89.9.
On the next Fresh Air, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's written a new memoir that gives us a rare glimpse into her legal mind, detailing her life and the experiences that led her to become the first Black woman appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. The book is called Lovely One. Join us.
Today at noon on WJCT News 89.9.
Buying a house in the U.S. is close to impossible for millions. Prices have soared despite rises in interest rates, rents are up, and the price for other essentials like food and fuel have left most of us with less to spend. Now housing has become a major talking point on the campaign trail. What might either candidate do to fix this crisis? Next time on 1A.
Today starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. It's been described as the greatest American play ever written, and it's won a Pulitzer Prize. Here to discuss Thornton Wilder's classic play, I'm joined by First Coast Connect book club host Stacey Goldring. Good morning, Stacey.
Good morning, Anne. How are you?
I'm terrific, and it's nice to hear your voice. Is everything going all right?
Yes, it's been a very busy summer, but I'm so excited that book club is starting back up again, and what could be more perfect than revisiting our town? And have you appeared in this play and or seen this play in your life?
I mean, I'm going to say it feels like almost everybody that's done any theater has appeared in our town one time. I have not. I've seen it a bunch. And I'll be honest with you, Stacey, I sometimes feel like it may just be the quality of the productions that I've seen, right? These have all been mostly, middle school type productions, but I feel like maybe I'm missing a little something. Tell me what I'm missing.
Well, I'll tell you this. It's probably one of the most mind-blowing plays I've ever read. And I can understand exactly what you mean by kind of missing something because it is very easy to overplay our town. The beauty, Anne, in our town is the subtlety of the powerful message when it is done right. So it's basically, if there's anyone who's listening who has not seen Our Town or read the book by Thornton Wilder, It takes place over one day or several years, depending on how you want to look at it. But basically, it's an ordinary day in the lives of residents in the fictional town of Grover's Corners in New Hampshire. You know, the Webb, the Gibbs, the town doctor, the editor. It sounds like Mayberry or Prairie Home Companion, but honestly, it's our hometown, it's our family, it's our life. It is this very moment of you and me carrying on a conversation. It's so powerful, and what I love about this play is that Thornton Wilder writes this masterful and mind-blowing message to every one of us, and it is to appreciate the magnificent universal experience of being alive. Now, that may be a lot to take this morning as you're having maybe your second cup, but it's embracing these impossibly most ordinary moments and realizing how beautiful they are. Also, the play is incredibly adaptable to any moment in time, any country, to any group, to any culture. We are our town. So when you saw this play, Anne, were there props on the stage? Do you happen to remember?
You know, I feel like that's the great appeal for this play for a lot of school productions, is that it doesn't really require any scenery, right? There's no props, especially. It's a very
Correct.
stripped down production.
Right. And at the time, this was so revolutionary. It was like if you always loved the masters and all of a sudden someone showed you Picasso and what do you think of this one? Like
Right.
It was mind blowing to go on to see a stage which is stripped of props, where our actors are miming, and where the stage manager, who is also our narrator, who breaks the fourth wall, so he's talking directly to us, the audience, he actually has a line that says, well, here's some scenery for those of you who feel you need it. And, someone wheels out this very, meager looking, sad looking trellis.
Right.
And this is because Thornton Wilder felt that the essence of life, the beauty of life, none of that matters. It is the exchange of ideas. It's us sharing the ordinary experience that makes life so wonderful. And he delivers this through characters that seem, oh my God, so boring. We have two lovers, we have some families, there's a milkman. How could that be relevant to today? Well, it is. In fact, when I was researching this book, and you're just going to have to tell me to be quiet because I could go on forever, Joanne Woodward produced this play, and the stage manager was her lovely, amazing husband, Paul Newman, and the play was staged in reaction to 9/11. Now, I'm no Joan Woodward, and, I love my husband. He is not Paul Newman. However, I felt it would be incredibly meaningful to bring our town for a discussion here in Jacksonville as we make our way toward an election. Because where we are with all the vitriol and the animus and, I'm right, you're wrong, Thornton Wilder has a message for every one of us. And that is to consider what really matters. And the answer is simple. And it's what we have in common. That's what matters. We are all mothers, fathers, daughters, sisters, but whatever. Let's find the beauty in that, because the rest doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Let's see the human being and appreciate the human experience in all of us. I don't know if that was too existential for so early in the morning that I can barely say the word. However, we are going to be discussing this in the evening. In fact, we're going to be discussing this next Tuesday at San Marco Books and More at 6:30.
First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjacks.com.
North Florida TPO, proud sponsor of WJCT's First Coast Connect, bringing to the community innovation in transportation planning, commuter services, clean fuels, and intelligent transportation systems. More at northfloridatpo.com.
Sing Out Loud Festival presents the Live Wildly Showcase with Noah Kahn, Eric Church, Nora Jones, JJ Gray and Mofro, and more. September 21st and 22nd in downtown St. Augustine. More information at singoutloudfestival.com.
This is